Hi, my name is Argentarius, and in this video, we'll transform into a lynx. Before we get started, I want to answer a question I get asked frequently, which is, what body paints do I use? I use water-based body paints. They are water-activated, easy to use, and easy to remove. You can see exactly what I used in the description of the video. I recommend water-based paints for anyone who's just getting started. Now it's time to transform with me into a lynx. To start, I put on a gray base and my signature eyeshadow. Check out my other video for how I do my eyeshadow. And now I'm just using white to create a beard on top of my own. I am lowering my upper lip here to expose my mustache and to avoid getting white on my nose where I don't want it. I am using a big fluffy brush to do this. Now, I use my brush to blend the edge of the white with the gray. I brush in the direction I want the furry texture to appear. The trick to painting hair is to dab at different angles and to brush in the direction of the hairs to avoid paint splatter. Now I'm wetting my round brush with water and loading it with white paint so I can use this to paint white under my eyes. I'm using a large brush, but a smaller brush might be easier for beginners. I'm making a sharp tip at the corner of my eyes down the bridge of my nose. If these are not perfectly symmetric, that's okay. We're going to come back with two other colors, brown and black, so we have plenty of chances to clean this up. I just want to take a moment here to say that I love little details like this because it really helps bring out the animal in you. Next, I'm putting white under my eyebrows, and I'd like to point out that I'm still making a point along the bridge of my nose like I did under my eyes. Rather than switching paws, I like to pull my elbow across my chest so that I can paint with my dominant paw for the other side. This helps me keep things symmetric, and you can see here I am feathering the end of my strokes at the eyebrows so that it looks like fur. Now I add little white tufts above my eyebrows. I put them about a quarter of the way in to leave room for when I come back with brown. At this point, I decided to fill in under my eyebrows a little more and make them a little more symmetric. Now it's time to put on my lips. I use the handle of another brush to lift my hairs so I can get at my lips. You can use body paint for this, of course, but water-based paints tend to dry up your lips, so I like to use lipstick on my lips. I feel using a bit of makeup, especially on the eyes and lips, helps make transformations look finished. If you're curious about what I use, I put the makeup I used in the description. You could also check out my eyeshadow video where I also use the same lipstick as well. Now I've switched to using a large chisel brush to add brown to my forehead. I start where the color needs to be the darkest and work my way down to blend into the gray. I also add brown next to the white tufts I made earlier, and I point my strokes up towards the forehead, making a sort of V shape, but not connecting it. Instead, I paint along the bridge of my nose, following the sides, trying to avoid the white paint around my eyes. I continue painting the sides of my nose as well, and also making sure the top of my nose gets some brown. This is where we'll come back and finish with black, but for now the brown will be underneath. Next, I paint the brown across each of my temples. The brown adds color but also acts as a contour since it is a dark color, so I like to put it where the shadows of my face would appear naturally. Now I'm taking gray again with my fluffy brush to push the brown back, and I'm flicking the brush at the end of my stroke at the border to add a bit of that fur texture. And I come back with the edge of that chisel brush to pull the brown back down again. The edge lets me add more texture as I blend this edge with the gray. Since the brown and the gray covered the white tufts, I'm coming back in with white and my round brush to touch up those tufts, using this as an opportunity to add more texture to those white tufts as well. Now it's time to add some of the black markings that really make this work come together. I start with a V of dots between the brown eyebrow markings. The further away from the center of my face I go, the larger I make my dots. This also works for other cats such as cheetahs and leopards and snow leopards. The big brush works well for making textured spots as well as for making different sizes of dots. Now it's time to make the signature Lynx stripe that goes from the eyes to the cheek. My facial hair makes the paintbrush skip a bit, so I correct this by doing it over again, even in the opposite direction. Just a part of the experience of working with facial hair. Next, I put 3 spots underneath each of my eyes, starting at the middle of my eye and working from there. Then I paint another swoopy stripe, starting from my cheek and following the curve of the first one. And the final stripe is a little dart branching from the first stripe. You can come up with your own unique designs and patterns for this, but this is mine. I'm now taking a quick moment to touch up the points on my stripes. When in doubt, add more spots. I'm sure there are some cats in my life that will agree. Now it's time for adding details with a small brush and some black paint. First, let's make the cat eye tear ducts with the fine point of the brush. I'm using the white as a bit of a guide. I have already done my waterline with blue eyeliner, but now I want to line my eyes with the black paint just underneath that waterline. I feel this makes it look a bit cleaner. Now I'll give myself a proper cat nose. Lynxes don't have noses that are jet black quite like this, but I like the look of this style of nose, and this means I don't have to mix my paints. The base is solid black, but I'll paint upwards toward the bridge of my nose. I do this to add texture so that the gray and brown look furry over the black nose. Then I paint a line down from my nose to my upper lip. The line widens a little bit at the nose and the lips. If I didn't have facial hair, I would put down some dots around my upper lip where cat whiskers would go. Now, I can't forget to let out my piercing now, can I? Then it's finally time to let out my mane and pose for the camera. If you want to transform, you can find my write-up and references from my website at argentarius.art. Also, please tag me. I would love to see what you come up with. To remove, simply wash with soap and water. After a shower, I use micellar water and some cotton pads to clean my eyeshadow and lipstick. Without soap, the paint will simply smear if you rub it. So, if you ever get rained on, you can just simply let it dry in place. As always, I want to give a big thanks to my Patreon members for supporting my art. And I want to give a shout out to Salem R, our resident unicorn. Thank you.